Here we go. Good afternoon, everybody. It's lovely to see you. And we are jumping straight into the second of our two-part series, which I have titled for today in preparation for Pesach, the 4 fours or the 5 fives. The 4 fours or the 5 fives. That is an amazing title for a class. And we're going to start with the 4 fours. Many commentators have noted that there are 4 fours at the Seder table. There are 4 fours, okay? Can someone give me, please, one of the 4s at the Seder table? Let's see if we can go through them. There's 4 of them, and they each have something with 4. Yes.
4 cups.
4 cups. Excellent. Who said that?
Stephen.
Stephen, 10 points, or maybe 4 points. 4 points. The first of our 4s, are the 4 cups. Very good. But that was the easiest one. Give me another one, please.
4 questions.
The 4 questions. You are on a roll tonight, Stephen. Okay. You've had your Wheaties this morning. Good for you. Somebody else said another answer. Give me another set of 4, please.
4
languages.
The 4 sons. I think a few people shouted that out at the same time. You guys are excellent. I'm going to have to give you the hard classes soon, not the intermediate classes. But however, the 4 cups, easy. The 4 questions, even easier. The 4 sons, that's perhaps the easiest of them all. Here we come to a hard passage. Can someone please tell me what is the last group of 4s that we have on the Seder?
The 4 sayings, like what's coming
4
up.
languages.
Excellent. Perry, you got it. Becky, you got it. Fantastic. We have 4 expressions of redemption. How do you spell redemption? The 4 expressions of redemption. If you're familiar with the 4 cups, 4 questions for sons, very good. But I would like you to become familiar with the 4 expressions of redemption. And wouldn't you know it, lo and behold, text 1 on my source sheet today takes us to Shemot chapter 6, verse 6 and 7. If you go all the way back to the beginning of the book of Shemot, not the beginning, but chapter 6, where are we up to in the story? We've been introduced to Moses. We've been introduced to the burning bush. Moses has been saved from the Nile. He has fled to Midian to run away. God has appeared to him. I need you to go back to Egypt and save the Jewish people in Egypt. That is where we are in the beginning of the book of Shemot, the second book of the Torah, Exodus. And at that point, God speaks with a 4-fold repetition of saying, I am going to free the Bnei Israel from Egypt. And every time he says, I'm going to free the Jews, he uses a different verb. Lynn, did you have your hand up just a second ago, or that was something else? Was there a question, Lynn, or no?
No, that was me moving I was just moving. I apologize.
Okay. So I'd like to show you the passage in the beginning of the book of Shemot, and I've underlined them for you. Ladies and gentlemen, if I have ever given this to you on a silver platter, today is the day. I've underlined the 4 passages. Take a look at the following text 1. This is God speaking to Moses at the burning bush when he says he's going to free the Jewish people from slavery. I will bring you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians, okay, and free you from their slavery. I will deliver you with a demonstration of my power and with acts of great judgment. I will take you to me as a nation. This is a fabulously important section of the Torah, because what we have is God using 4 different expressions, and this is very, very important. We have 4 different expressions. Now, do you want to know something fascinating? This is amazing. Each of these implies a different stage of freedom. The first, I will bring you out, is literally a sense of physically. Physically. You're not going to be in Egypt anymore. I'm going to take you out. I will free you from your slavery. This is a sense of not only will you be physically out of Egypt, but mentally you're not going to see yourself as a slave anymore. That's very important. By the way, you can free a person from their prison, but they still feel like a slave. God says, I will free you from your slavery. I will deliver you with a demonstration of my power and acts of great judgment. That means not only will you go out, but you will go out with the greatest miracles possible. You will see 10 plagues. You will see the sea split. And I will take you to me as a nation. Spiritually, you will be free as well, because I will give you the Torah. I will take you to me as a nation at Har Sinai, at Mount Sinai, when I give you the 10 commandments. So what we have here is a process of deliverance, different steps and stages along the way to being free. It's one thing for a prison warden to open up your prison door. It's very different for a person to feel free, for a person to emotionally express freedom, for a person to spiritually achieve their freedom. This is what is happening with the 4 expressions of freedom. Now, we have started our class. We've got the 4 fours. 4 cups, 4 questions, 4 sons, 4 expressions of redemption. So far, everyone is with me? So far, so good?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Questions, comments? Okay, beautiful. Aura is thinking, she's looking, she's thinking. I've come to know where Aura is being very thoughtful just by looking at her eyes. I now know when you're thinking, Aura.
I'm sorry, Rabbi. I had an appointment before, and I just got here for to my computer.
You'll be fine.
I really apologize. I don't like to be late.
All good, all good. You're fine. We've established that there are 4 fours at the Seder night. Or maybe, or maybe there are 5 fives. Okay. What I want to show you for the duration of this class, 4 cups, 4 questions, 4 sons, 4 expressions of redemption. Maybe there are 5 fives. Did I lose anybody? No, that's straightforward. That's straightforward. You know, sometimes, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but in recent times, when a person wants to sell a masterpiece painting at auction, you know what the first thing they do with that painting is? They put it under a special X-ray machine. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but there are painters that can actually forge a masterpiece and they can draw it onto a modern canvas. And sometimes there might even be a painting underneath it. Have you ever heard of this phenomenon? Have you ever seen it? And just like there's a special X-ray machine that can reveal an earlier painting underneath the painting, so too, underneath the Haggadah, I want to reveal to you another expression of actually not 4 fours, but 5 fives. And the first thing that I want to point out is that we have, and actually it's part of the Haggadah that makes up the heart of the Haggadah. It makes up a major part of the Haggadah. Are biblical verses that we actually go through on the night of Pesach. Take a look at text 2. Take a look at text 2. Text 2 is taken from Devarim chapter 26. This is the 5th of the 5 books of the Torah. And it deals with, just to give you the context, a farmer who has now lived in the land of Israel. His fruits have blossomed and grown. And there is a mitzvah. I'm not going to get into this too deeply, but there's a mitzvah in the Torah that when you're a farmer in the land of Israel, the first fruits, what are called in Hebrew the bikurim, the first fruits that you grow, you bring down to Jerusalem and you offer up to God as a gift. You give them to the priest in the temple in Jerusalem. Okay? When you are that farmer traveling down to Jerusalem, you've got your big basket of figs, of pomegranates, of grapes. Where's Sylvie? Big round of applause for Sylvie's amazing Mishloach Manot offering this year.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You might have noticed it was the 7 species. The theme was the 7 species. This is what we're talking about. Devarim chapter 26, you've got 7 species that you bring to Jerusalem. And when you get there, the farmer gives an overview of Jewish history. And that is what text 2 is. It says as follows: an Aramean tried, that's a spelling mistake, tried to destroy my father. And the Egyptians ill-treated us and afflicted us. And we cried out to the Lord, the God of our fathers, and the Lord brought us out of Egypt. Does that sound familiar? That's the Haggadah. That's the heart of the Haggadah. We talk about these verses the whole night, right? Good. This is familiar. This is a declaration, text 2, that the farmer would say. And amazingly, the author of the Haggadah copied and pasted chapter 26 of Devarim, and he stuck it in the middle of our Haggadah. And this is what we say on the night of Passover. Isn't that interesting? We say the very section that the Jewish farmer in Israel, the Israeli farmer, would say after his pomegranate and oil and wheat and barley and grapes and dates. And if I left one out, ask Sylvie for what the last one was. And he says what all of those fruits are. He says, I'm going to give you an overview of Jewish history. An Aramean tried to destroy my father. The Egyptians ill-treated us. We cried out to God and he brought us out of Egypt. Amazing.
What's interesting is the farmer was not in Egypt. This is the one time that there is someone who's speaking from the future to the past. In other words, we're supposed to feel as though we left Egypt, and this is really the proof.
Excellent, Becky. Excellent, Becky. The farmer was never in Egypt. The farmer grew up in the land of Israel. For hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, farmers said this at the temple. Excellent. So the first thing I want you to notice is that there are not 4 fours, but there are 5 fours. Are you with me? What are the 4 fours? The 4 fours we started with: 4 cups, 4 questions, 4 sons, 4 expressions of redemption. And now we have these 4 verses that make up the heart of the passage of the Haggadah. We have 5 different sets of 4. So far, so good. I'm going step by step. You know what I'm doing today? I'm dropping breadcrumbs, and you're just going to follow the trail to where it leads. Okay? Okay, good. Now let's go on a little bit of a amazing Talmudic journey. Are you ready for this? Hold on to your seats, put on your seatbelts, because this is going to be incredible. Take a look at text 3. Text 3 says the following. This simple line has perplexed Talmudic scholars for centuries. Look at the following, text 3. Rabbi Tar, can you see it? Everyone can see it okay? Yeah? Okay. Rabbi Tarfon says, over the 5th cup of wine, we recite the great Hallel. Over the 5th cup of wine. Now, this line of the Talmud confused everybody. 5th cup of wine. If you're like me, you're scratching your head right now. 5th cup of wine? What are you talking about, 5th cup of wine? Where's there a fifth cup of wine? Where's there a fifth cup of wine? This is very confusing. Rabbi Tarfon says, over the fifth cup of wine, we recite the great Hallel. Where is there a fifth cup of wine? So 1 second, Lynn, I want to develop this idea before you tell me the answer. Before you tell me the answer, I want to develop this idea because this is fascinating. I want you to know that the medieval commentators were so puzzled by this. We don't find a fifth cup of wine mentioned anywhere in the Talmud. Nowhere in the Talmud is there a fifth cup. The only reference in the Talmud we have to cups of wine is 4 cups of wine. So what is this Rabbi Tarfon says? Over the fifth cup of wine, we say Hallel. According to Rashi, the great Talmudic commentator, you're not going to believe this, but it's true. I'm not making this up. Are you ready for this? Rashi says, everyone knows there's only 4 cups of wine at the Seder. Therefore, our manuscripts that say over the 5th cup of wine, it must be a mistake in the manuscript. Someone copied it down wrong. It's incorrect. Wow. That is wild. Rashi, this isn't some newfangled modern person on TikTok saying this. Rashi, in his commentary on the Talmud, says it must have been a scribal error. We've got no source at all for 5 cups of wine. It's a wrong manuscript mistake. Wow, amazing. However, that was the first approach. We're going to see 3 approaches now. The second approach was Maimonides, the Rambam. Maimonides, he says something else. He says, listen carefully, no. It wasn't a mistaken manuscript. It wasn't that someone was falling asleep while copying down the text. There is a 5th cup. However, it's not obligatory. It's not obligatory. You don't have to have 5. You have to have 4, but you don't have to have 5. The 5th cup, permissible. Permissible, if you wish. If you wish. And that is the meaning of our passage in the Talmud. Rabbi Tarfon says, over the 5th cup, we say Hallel. Meaning, says Maimonides, it's not an obligation. You don't have to. If you wish to, you can. And for those of you that do, that's when, over that 5th cup, you should say the Psalms, the Tehillim, we refer to as Hallel, the thanksgiving praise of God. That's option 2. Rashi, mistaken manuscript. Maimonides, it's optional. It's optional. But there's a third approach. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Listen carefully. Maimonides had a rabbi that lived in the same generation as him, and he was a little bit older than Maimonides, and he read Maimonides' works after they were published. He got a copy of Maimonides' works, and he read all of Maimonides, and he wrote footnotes to this book every time he disagreed with him. Have you ever met somebody like that? The only time they ever speak is when they tell you you're wrong. Do you know somebody like that? Are you somebody like that? This rabbi, his name was the Ravad. The Ravad, and the Ravad, his whole works were the footnotes to Maimonides where he disagrees with Maimonides. Oh my goodness, could you imagine living with that person? Okay, so the Ravad says, no, it's not like Maimonides believes that it's optional. It's actually, ready for this, a mitzvah to drink the 5th cup of wine. It's not optional. It's a mitzvah. And that is how he, the Ravad, understands this Talmudic passage. Okay, let's do a quick review. The Talmud says, over the 5th cup of wine, we say Hallel. Rashi interprets this, It's a printing error. There's no such cup of wine. Maimonides says there is, but it's optional. And the Ravad says it's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to drink that 5th cup of wine. Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, what do we do when we have an argument among Talmudic medieval authorities? How do we resolve that? Does anyone know? When you've got the greatest of the greats, Rashi, Maimonides, the Ravad, and we have a 3-way argument, how do you resolve that argument? What do you do? What do you do? Yes, Elaine.
Isn't there an opinion that when there are certain controversies that can't be settled, that we're waiting for Eliyahu Hanavi to come back to announce coming of Mashiach and he'll settle everything?
Beautiful. 100%. You hit the nail on the head. Ladies and gentlemen, Elaine is our teacher, and I'll just repeat
Not
what
really.
she said. There is an ancient tradition, a legend, that when there's a dispute that's unresolved in the Talmud, Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Hanavi, is going to come at the end of days and restore and resolve every Talmudic dispute that was never resolved. Elijah the prophet will come. But I want to share something so stunning with you. Elaine, you're going to fall off your chair when I say this. Please sit carefully, because this is going to give me goosebumps when I say it.
Is that the reason why we have a Kol Shel Eliyahu at the Seder?
Precisely. Let me explain. When we have an unresolved Talmudic argument, what we try to do is we try to please everybody. Maybe you know people like that as well. So what do we do with cup number 5? We pour cup number 5 out of deference to Maimonides and the Ravad. However, out of deference to Rashi that says it was a mistake, we don't drink it. We pour a 5th cup, but we don't drink it. We try to please all of the people all of the time. What a beautiful lesson in preparing for Passover. Okay? We try.
use it to
Didn't say we
keep the next
succeed.
time.
We try. Ladies and gentlemen, the cup that we pour, but we don't drink, became known through tradition as the cup of Elijah. We all have a cup of Elijah on our tables, right? Kos Eliyahu, the cup of Elijah. I don't know about you, but in my Seder, where we pour the cup of Elijah, we go and open the front door and we welcome Elijah in. And we always had a game in my family that I would stand at the door and, Elijah, so nice to meet you. When the kids were small, they got so scared. And I said, you can't see him, but he's coming into our house right now. And then my wife would shake the table a little bit. A drop of wine would spill from the cup of, and I said, look, it went down. It went there. He came in, he took a sip of wine. As they got older, this was harder, you understand, right? But amazingly, this incredible argument in the Talmud was resolved by pouring a cup of wine in deference to Maimonides and the Ravad, but not drinking it out of respect to Rashi. And it became known as the cup of Elijah. And listen to the connection. I'm sure you figured it out. What did I say just 2 seconds ago? Every Talmudic principle argument that is not resolved, who will come and resolve it at the end of days? Elijah. Who is this cup poured for? It's the cup of Elijah. Is that incredible? That's incredible. B, you don't look shocked. You don't look amazed. Either you know this already, or I need to try hard. I want you to fall off your chair in shock. That's what I was going for. Okay, let's go on. Let's see if we can do a little more. Okay. 5 cups of wine. Right? 5 cups of wine. If you're making notes of this, right? 5 cups of wine. What's the 5th cup? the cup of Elijah. But friends, there's a missing fifth. There's a missing fifth. Because amazingly, if you go to that passage that I started with in text 1, when God is speaking to Moses at the burning bush, I'll bring you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. I will free you from their slavery. I'll deliver you with demonstration of power. I will take you to me as a nation. We have 4 expressions, right?
Right. But there's a fifth.
But that is
The Haggai.
chapter 6, verses 6 and 7. But friends, lo and behold, there's verse 8. Look how I cut and pasted my source sheet. That was so tricky of me, because there's another verse, the next verse, verse 8. And I will bring you to the land I swore with an uplifted hand to give to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov. I will give it to you as a possession, for I am the Lord. That's an incredible verse. That's an incredible verse. It's the continuation of God speaking to Moses at the burning bush. I'm not just going to take you out of Egypt. What's the end of the process? You'll be physically out of Egypt. You won't be in shackles mentally. You'll see the signs and wonders miraculously. Spiritually, you will be free. But what's the punchline? What's the final step in that process? I'm going to bring you to the land of Israel. I'm going to bring you to the land of Israel. Now, amazingly, we don't say that verse in our Haggadah. Text 4, we artificially cut it out. We don't have that verse in our Haggadah. Why not? Why not? Before you answer that question, I want to show you that we've just seen another fifth. So we have 5 cups of wine, right? 5 cups of wine. And we now have a 5th expression of redemption. Let's go back to our 4 fours. We've now got 5 cups of wine. We've got 5 expressions of redemption. What about these expressions? What about the passage? What about the passage that we were dealing with of the farmer bringing his fruits down? Friends, I did the same thing again. I very sneakily cut and pasted text 2. See, it's chapter 26 of Devarim, verses 5 to 8. I did the same thing. Take a look at text 5. It's Devarim 26, verse 9. Because what does the farmer say at the very end? And Aramean tried to destroy my father. Egyptians ill-treated us. We cried out to God. God brought us out of Egypt. And then look at text 5. He brought us to this place, the land of Israel, to give us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. We've just discovered a 3rd fifth. We've just discovered a 3rd fifth. 5 cups, 5 expressions of redemption, 5 verses that make up the heart of the Haggadah. But we don't speak about that 5th expression that the farmer would use. We don't say the 5th expression of redemption. Why? Why not? Why not? I'll bring you to the land of Israel. And God brought me to a land, says the farmer. God brought me to a land flowing with milk and honey. We don't say those in the Haggadah. We don't drink a 5th cup of wine. Why? Why not? Yes, Elaine, help us. Put us out of our misery. What's the answer?
So my guess is we're waiting for Geula. We're waiting for the Mashiach to come and redeem us.
Elaine, after this class, I want you to go and buy a 649 lottery ticket. You're hitting everything perfectly on the head. Okay? This is fantastic. This is your lucky day. Friends, the Haggadah, as we have it today, was created and written when the Jewish people went into exile. Jewish people didn't have a Haggadah the way we have a Haggadah when they lived in the land and they had a temple. You know what they did on Seder night? They ate a roasted lamb, and that was the Pesach sacrifice. They had the Korban Pesach. They actually worshipped in the temple with a roasted lamb, and everyone sat as a family and ate the Pesach sacrifice. The Haggadah, as we know it today, was born when the Jewish people went into exile, when the temple was destroyed, when we were no longer on our land. And these 3/5 that we have seen so far, fifth cup of wine, fifth passage that the farmer speaks about when declaring his first fruits, a fifth expression of redemption, they all have one theme in common: redemption. Jews celebrating arriving in the land of Israel. How could the Jewish people in exile drink that fifth cup of redemption when they were living in Morocco, when they were living in Marrakesh, when they were living in Minsk, when they were living in Montreal? We're in exile. We're not yet, and it's always yet, we're not yet redeemed. We're not yet in the land of Israel. How could we say, and God brought us to the land, and how could we say, and we're here in a land flowing with milk and honey, when the first words of the Haggadah are, this year we are slaves, next year we're free. This year we're here, next year in the land of Israel. Those are the opening words of the Haggadah. The Haggadah is a text born in exile. The fifth cup, poured but not drunk, was like a cup broken at Jewish weddings. It was a symbol of incompletion. It meant that as long as Jews were dispersed throughout the diaspora, facing persecution, facing danger, we couldn't yet fully celebrate. This is an incredible story beneath the story of these 4 fours. But are there 5 fives? So we've seen 3 additional fifths: a fifth cup, a fifth expression of redemption, a fifth passage that the farmer would say that becomes the heart of our Haggadah. What about the 4 questions? Is there a 5th question? Is there a 5th question?
Well, there was
What
one
am I
that we
gonna-
don't use.
Friends, what am I going to say?
There was one that we don't use today about the roasted lamb. We have a,
Okay, let's take a look. Let's take a look. Was there a 4th question? And actually, I want to suggest that there was. Can you see my screen?
Mhm.
This is text 6. It's a Mishnah, dating back to the time of the temple, and that's important. Bear that in mind. What does it say? On all other nights, Shebachol Halayla, you can sing the tune, right? Shebachol Halayla. On all other nights, we eat meat that is either boiled or roasted. But this night, only roasted. Friends, you have never seen that question before. That question is not in your Haggadah. That question is not one of the 4 questions. Where is this question from? This question refers to a time when the temple was standing. Because when the temple was standing, the meat on Passover had to be roasted. That was the mitzvah. And so the 4 questions were, on all other nights we eat matzah, chametz and matzah. On this night, only matzah. On all other nights, we eat vegetables or bitter herbs. This night, only bitter herbs. On all other nights, we dip once. On this night, we dip twice. And the last question was, on all other nights, we eat meat that's boiled or roasted, but this night, only roasted. That was the original question of the 4 questions. And we've not seen that question before, and we don't have it in our Haggadahs, because when the temple was destroyed, we no longer had any meat. Of course, we have a meal at our Seders, but we don't have a Pesach sacrifice from the temple. And so
Can I-
amazingly, you know what we did? We substituted this question. We took out this question. On all other nights, we eat meat that's either boiled or roasted, but on this night, only roasted meat. Do you know what question we substituted it with? Who can figure it out? Which one did we not say?
Kulanu mesubim.
Excellent, Becky. Someone else?
I just wanted to mention that don't we make a point of not eating roasted meat at the Seder?
Correct. Elaine, excellent. We don't eat when it's purely roasted with no sauce or no liquid. Excellent. Can't have a dry roast, can't have barbecued meat. Excellent, Becky. Of course, you can roast something in the oven, but it has to be accompanied with sauce or liquid.
Yes.
So what's the question we substitute? On all other nights, we sitting up or lying down. On this night, kulanu mesubin, we're all leaning. We're all leaning. Wow. So what is that? That's a fifth question. We've discovered a fifth question. It's not the 4 questions, it's the 5 questions. It's just that we don't ask the original question because the temple's destroyed. So we switched it with an extra 5th. On this night, we all lean. Wow. Let's review. 5 cups of wine, 5 expressions of redemption, 5 expressions that the farmer would say when bringing his first fruits to Jerusalem. Help me out here. What did I miss? 5 cups. But there's one last item to see if we can go from 4 4s to 5 5s. And that was the 4 children, the 4 sons. The 4 sons. Friends, is there a 5th son? Is there a 5th child at the Seder? I'd like to suggest, and we touched on this at the very, very end of last week, I want to suggest that there is a 5th child. The 4 children of the Haggadah, the wise, the wicked, the simple, the one that doesn't know how to ask, they are all sat around the table. Even if they're wicked, they're at the Seder. Even if they're simple, they're at the Seder. Even if they don't know how to ask, they're at the Seder. But there's a 5th child on Pesach. That's the child who's not there. The child who's not there, who's lost because of assimilation. The child that isn't able to care enough to even celebrate their freedom. What's amazing and scary is that the Torah tells us that when the Jewish people left Egypt, there's a verse that says, "V'chamushim alu b'nei Yisrael mimitzrayim." Did I put this on the source sheet? Let me check. Is this on the source sheet? No, it's not on the source sheet. There's a verse that says that when the Jewish people leave Egypt, "V'chamushim alu b'nei Yisrael mimitzrayim." What does that mean? The ordinary translation is that the Bnei Israel, the Israelites, left Egypt armed. They took weapons with them. It's a very interesting translation. It gives a whole different spin on the visual. But actually, chamushim is typically translated as armed or weapons. So in this reading, the Jewish people left Egypt armed. They left with weapons. However, that word chamushim, armed or weapons, is very reminiscent of another Hebrew word. The Jewish people left Egypt chamushim. Not chamushim, but chamesh. 5. Chamesh, the number 5. On a different reading, what we are taught is only a 5th of the Jewish people left Egypt. That's a
100%.
shocking idea. Only a 5th of the Jewish people left Egypt. Why did only a 5th of the Jewish people leave Egypt? That's 20%. What about the other 80%? Says an ancient legend, 80%. You know why they didn't leave? because they didn't want to. They were comfortable. They liked it. It was convenient. It was easy. It was straightforward. Yes, there were slaves. But as we spoke about a number of times, slavery is at least predictable. Slavery, at least, I know what I have to do every day. 80% didn't leave. And according to this legend, listen to this because it is fascinating. 80% of the Jewish people died in the plague of darkness. Do you remember we have 10 plagues? And plague number 9 is darkness. Guess what? The plague of darkness was not so much to punish the Egyptians, although it was, but it was also so that the Jewish people could bury their dead under the cover of secrecy without the Egyptians finding out. The Jewish people buried 4/5 of their nation under the cloak of darkness so that the Egyptians should not find out. Only 1/5 left Egypt. The Chamushim alu b'nei Yisrael miMitzrayim. The Jewish people went up out of Egypt. Only 1/5 of them left. To leave Egypt is hard. To leave our lives that's predictable, ordinary, circular, it's hard to break free. Lynn, you have a question or comment?
It's a question, comment, and that would be that darkness being a metaphor, that only 1/5 had any form of connection with their faith in God, and that those that did leave were those that had even the smallest connection with those that were able to leave.
Right, very nice. That connection is a symbol and metaphor of seeing the light, so to speak, as we say in English. Those who didn't have that connection, well, they were in darkness. Very nice connection. Very good. The loss of the Jewish people through assimilation, through intermarriage, is a story of the Jewish history of our people. And it's a difficult story. And we allude to the 5th child at the Seder. How do we allude to that 5th child? With silence. The 5th child is the child who's not there. So amazingly, if we go all the way back to the beginning, beneath the surface of the Haggadah, we find not 4 4s, but 5 5s. And in each case, there's a missing 5th. There's a missing cup, a missing expression of deliverance, a missing verse, the farmer would say, a missing question, and a missing child. And I think each and every one of these points to something incomplete in our present situation. In the last half of the 20th century, the Jewish people going through the greatest of upheaval in modern times, facing the Holocaust, surviving the Holocaust, and then emerging from darkness to light with the re-establishment and the creation of the modern state of Israel, is nothing less than miraculous. Right now, the modern state of Israel is going through horrendous troubles and difficulties, really difficult moments. But let's not lose sight of the grandeur and the big picture. The Hebrew language has been reborn. The Jewish people is safe in their homeland. And in liberal democracies of the West, Jewish people have freedom. And in certain communities, a sense of security, and certainly prominence, and certainly affluence. But our Haggadah and these 5 5ths continue to point us in a direction that our world is incomplete. Our lives are incomplete. Israel is not yet in a state of peace, both internally with ourselves or externally with our enemies. Diaspora assimilation continues. Many people are estranged from their faith. Something is missing in our celebrations. A 5th cup, A fifth expression of deliverance, a fifth verse, a fifth question, a fifth child. That is a measure of what is still to be achieved. We haven't yet reached our destination. But optimistically and beautifully, the missing fifths remind us of work still yet to be done, of our journey that is not yet complete. And in the words of Rabbi Tarfon, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, v'lo ata ben chorin lechibatel mimenu. It's not up to you to complete the task, but neither should you desist from trying. We all have a small corner of this world we can fix. There's always a smile we can give. There's always a kind word we can offer. There's always a loneliness we can redeem. There's always a sense of love that we can share. And that's what we try to do on Seder night. That's what we try to do with the reading of the Haggadah. That's what we try to do on Pesach. And if we can do it to the best of our abilities, then these 5/5 will show us not a sense of incompleteness, but rather our next steps to making the world the way it could be, the way it should be. Thank you very much, everybody. Questions or comments? Questions or comments? Once again, this was a presentation that I drew from Rabbi Sachs of blessed memory. And in his Haggadah, he has 20 such essays on a variety of different topics. Questions, comments? Stephen, yes, you wanted to say something.
I just wanted to say that was a beautiful ending, because I was going to ask the question before you brought it up. Every year I send out a Passover message and I talk about Passover is the great holiday of freedom, the greatest national liberation movement of the era, and so forth. And I said, what am I going to write this year? As we're heartbroken as we watch what is taking place in Israel and how it's going to end up, we don't know. I'm optimistic. I don't really know why I'm optimistic. I think I'm optimistic because no other answer is acceptable.
Right.
As I see us, I see sinat chinam. I see us tearing each other apart. And at this point, I don't even care what the solution is, as long as we come together. So any answer at this point is better than the strife we're facing with. So this is particularly difficult at Passover time, when we're celebrating freedom, redemption, and now we have this in front of us. So it changes Passover for me. I don't know how, if it does for you, but just wanted to give my reaction, and thank you for ending it the way you did.
Thank you for that. Of course, these are times which are so difficult, perhaps the most difficult. However, Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people overcome. The Jewish people survive. The Jewish people are able to thrive in the most adverse of conditions. And to be a Jew is to believe that tomorrow is going to be better than today. Like you said, Stephen, I couldn't sum it up better. I'm optimistic and I don't know why I'm optimistic. That's it. In a nutshell, that's it. I'm optimistic and I don't know why. What's the answer? Because that's what it means to be a Jew. We live in a world where the answer to has the Messiah arrived? The answer is always not yet. But we await his arrival. There's going to be a better tomorrow. There's going to be a brighter day where these troubles will be behind us. Of that we are sure. I wasn't sure if I saw another hand. Any other points or comments? Okay. Friends, this was a beautiful class. I hope you enjoyed it. I love learning with you, and it's such a pleasure and privilege.
Class.
And this is our last class before Passover. I'm not going to be teaching next Tuesday. I want to take this opportunity to wish everybody a Chag Kasher V'Sameach, a happy and very healthy, kosher Passover. You should have a beautiful Pesach, and those around the table, enjoy, celebrate, and make it something so, so special. Please stay tuned, because if you received our winter learning brochure, do you recognize this? Worked very hard on this. So I have just completed, with the help of Rabbi Shaya and the leadership, a summer learning brochure, we, after Pesach, are going to be back with a force. So if you're enjoying these classes, if you've been taking these courses, tell a friend, share it with a neighbor, bring in additional people. We are so looking forward to a slew of additional classes, lecturers, courses, something for everybody. So it will be towards the end of April, we will continue. You'll find, please God, this learning brochure part 2 mailed out to you in the forthcoming weeks, hopefully extremely soon. And I want to wish everyone a Hag Sameach. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All the best.
Rabbi.
Hello.
Thank you so much. It
Thank
was
you, Rabbi. Chag
enlightening.
Sameach.
Thank you.